Welcome to Joy of Business with host Simone Milasas, a dynamic business leader with a difference. Simone has founded and operated many businesses from a young age and has always done business differently. Today, Simone is the worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness and travels the world presenting Joy of Business programs using access tools and empowering people to know that they can create business in a different way and make money doing it. Simone Milasas, weekly on OMTimes Radio.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Joy of Business on OMTimes radio show, and I've got Jonas Svensson with me today. He's a friend of mine that I work with. He's actually from Sweden, but he's currently in Canada. Our show today is called What is Creation in Business? Now, I happen to be very lucky that I actually work with Jonas. I talk to him nearly every day, and he's Access Consciousness' worldwide event coordinator. So Jonas has always had the knowing that there must be a greater possibility in the world, constantly walking around wondering what else is possible and thinking of how else can I develop myself, led him to all kinds of different techniques and modalities. But it wasn't until Access Consciousness came into his life that everything started to change towards what he was looking for. From having the right career, nice title, good salary, awesome benefits, he chose to give it all up to follow his knowing of what he wanted to create as his life. Life must be supposed to be more than this was the source for just jumping and starting to create something else. Constant change towards more fun, more expansion, and more consciousness every day has been the reality ever since. So Jonas has a background in marketing and sales as a category manager, project leader, and salesperson with different companies. He's developed a broad competence and expertise around creating and generating business. And like I said, I'm lucky enough that I get to work with him now with Access Consciousness, as he is the worldwide event coordinator. Now, we have anywhere from 4 to 12 events a month with Access Consciousness worldwide, not just in one city, not just in one country, all over the entire world. We're in over 130 countries right now. So it is a pretty huge job, pretty big company. So welcome to the show, Mr. Jonas.
Thank you so much, Simone. I love to be on. And I just have to say, people, she might be grateful for having me in her life and working with me, and I do feel exactly the same. We are creating some amazing stuff together, and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Now, interesting that you say that, because that's pretty much like the beginning of what we want to talk about, because it's like we create together, and that's what we do together. So it's like, can you talk to me a little bit about how you see creation in business?
Yeah, and it's funny because when you were saying that, I was, as you do, you reflect at the same time and you're looking at, what is she saying? What does that mean? And cool, and you're being the question of everything. And it's such a great example how sort of we create together, me and Simone in this case. It's because we create so much together, and the span of what we create together is so extremely broad, and it's so many things on at the same time. And I would say, like, the most important thing that actually makes that work in any way it's working, it's that we both have the awareness of the whole picture at all times. It doesn't mean that we never miss any details in anything. That happens probably daily. But we have this broader awareness of everything, which actually creates this sort of platform that we actually can create together on it. Does that make sense to you as well, Simone?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like, well, one of the things I noticed with someone who's great at creating, it's not about getting it right. It's not about who came up with the idea. It's not about any of that. It's sort of like this generative energy that you have, that it's like, I mean, you and I would talk about so many different things all the time, and we'll come up with something, and it may come into fruition now, and it might not. It might come into fruition in the future. So just because it doesn't physically actualize today doesn't mean it hasn't been a contribution. But it's not about whose idea it was, or, it was right, or I came up with this, so that's why I have more value, or anything like that. It's like, to me, that is just such a bore. And it's like, to me, it's like the creative energy is about, one person, two people, a whole entire company that can actually, which you said is be in the question and start to, ask questions and find out what is actually truly possible to create greater possibilities.
Yeah, and a lot of times I do recognize a lot of times when we do have conversations about things, we sort of shift gear and shift tempo and topic like a couple of times the same minute, and then we just go back and forth between different things all the time, and we never do it from that. Okay, so now we're talking about this, only this. And I think that example of just talking about this, it's the same with what you're being and what you're doing and what you're aware of. You're not only aware of one thing at the same time, which also means there's not only one possibility at the same time. So when we're talking about something, it might be the thing that is creating a possibility in another area or in another topic.
Well, yeah, you're right, because it's like it opens a door to something else.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's funny because you're told, I remember years ago, Jonas, I had a business with ex-boyfriend of mine. Well, he was my boyfriend at the time. Wasn't a very smart choice. You really have to think about that. Highly recommended. If you choose to go into a business with someone you're in a relationship, make sure that you're not doing it to actually create a better relationship. You know how people have babies because they think that'll create a better relationship? Same thing. I made a big mistake. I learned, not the baby thing, but I had a business based on, this would be great. Our relationship will be even better. And it was interesting. He used to say to me all the time, Simone, you need to finish something. You need to just finish something and then, and then start something new. He said, you've got things all over the place. And of course, I would go to the wrongness and go, oh my gosh, I do. I have everything all over the place. He's so much neater and more organized than me. He must create more, was my conclusion and the judgment that I had gone to. And it was interesting when we split up and I said, well, I think I'm going to keep the business. And he said, you're not capable of it. You won't be able to do it on your own. And I remember sitting there since years ago and I thought, hang on a second. And I started to look at all the different aspects of the business. And I was like, I'm actually doing most of this. And I realized that the way I was working was I had my energy in so many different areas of the business, and my awareness, like expanding your zone of awareness, was far greater than where he was willing to function from, because he had so many judgments and projections of what it had to look like, tick the box, having that list, that to-do list, and make sure you tick it off. And before the end of the day, you write your to-do list for the next day, rather than the willingness to follow energy. And following the energy is definitely a way to create in business.
Yeah, and follow the energy. I absolutely agree. And also, when you even gave that example, and where did the joy go? You have to tick off all the boxes in your to-do list and then do another one. Let's just say that it did probably not create any joy in Simone's universe, and it would not have been mine either. And we're all different, though. That's really important, probably to say. But if there's no joy for you, you will not be able to pull it off for a longer time anyway.
No, and I wasn't smart enough then, Jonas. It's like I hadn't met Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, or Dane here, or any of you guys, and using the Access Consciousness tools, and actually realized where I did function from. So that's anyone listening too. It's like if you have this place that you do create like that in business, it's like you do follow the energy. And most people would say, like, if you get called being, it's all chaotic, it's like you work from a chaotic energy. What if that was creation? What if that was actually an ability that you had, that this reality has been projecting at you is wrong? And it's like everywhere you've been buying that as wrong, rather than what's right about this I'm not getting, which is being in the question and acknowledging the talents and abilities you have and the capacities you have that are different to everybody else, where you destroy and uncreate it, times a gazillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So if you've been listening to my show, I'm sure you've heard that Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. You can find out more at theclearingstatement.com. or write into the Joy Business Facebook and ask any questions as well. We will see what we can do. So creation as an energy. And it's like, let's talk about creation as an energy. And it's can you...
Yeah. Go on.
Go on. Well, I was going to ask you, Jonas, because it's like, one of the things I notice is I mean, say you were saying we talk about many different things, and there's this generative energy, okay?
Yeah.
So there's a generative energy that begins, and then it's like that little seed, that moment that I would say that you go, and you go, I've got a great idea, and you all get excited by that. And how many times has someone sort of, blasted your idea down, and you go, and go, of course, into judgment again, the wrongness of you, rather than that initial generative energy, and then go, okay, so ask questions. What would it take to create this? What else do we have to institute? What do we have to add to my business? What do I have to add to my life? And it's like, who do I have to call? It's like any of these questions can actually contribute to creating that initial energy that shows up.
Yeah. And follow the energy of creating your business. I would say what you said is so profound, and it sounds very easy when I hear it because I'm sort of used to it. But I can also recognize that 7-8 years ago, when I was working with marketing in a big corporate world, nothing of what you said would have been making any sort of sense to me or anyone in the company. Which is funny because now like you with your boyfriend. Now we're smarter. It's cool. But it's like really following the energy is really about, I would also want to add one element to it that you didn't necessarily bring up in that. It's also like when. Sort of, it's not about sitting there waiting for, now I got the sign, so now it's time. But it's more like really being aware of when is the time as well. I know that we, for example, we do that all the time because we probably have like 150 to 1,000 things going on at this moment. And some of them next week will just pop like, there's a door opening here. We need to do something with this. Or we can do something with this now. Now is the time to change this. Or now is the time to institute this. That's really something that is very present in our universe, that when is the time, because when it's not the time, it's this hard, struggling energy. We do that sometimes too. We figure out, now is the time to do this, and then we realize a week later that, Jesus Christ, we have gone nowhere, and then suddenly the door opens, and just in a couple of hours, we have changed a whole reality with that project.
And we actually knew it. So we're going to head off to a break now, and so we'll come back to you soon.
Simone Milasas would like you to know that business can be fun, which is why she wrote the book, Joy of Business. What if you could have the joy of business rather than the stress and struggle? Most of the time, the only thing stopping you from a thriving business is you. In the Joy of Business book, Simone gives you access consciousness tools and pragmatic ways to get out of your own way and to create the business, life, and living you know is possible and beyond what this reality says is achievable. Business is joy. It's creation. It's generative. It can be the adventure of living. You can purchase your copy of the book through Amazon or Joy of Business website, www.accessjoyofbusiness.com. Host your show on OMFM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on OMFM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, My name is Monica and I'm the host of Co-Creating Now. Give yourself an opportunity to connect with your all-knowing higher self and manifest joy, love, and peace together every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Joy of Business OMTimes. I'm with Jonas Svensson. I do like saying that name, Svensson. I come from Australia. Jonas comes from Sweden. We work together across the world. And Australians, if you don't know, we always shorten words. We always shorten everything. It's like, I don't know, it's like we try to make things easy. So our nickname for Jonas is Svenno. Because if he lived in Australia, that's where he'd be nicknamed, Svenno. But his name is Jonas Svensson.
So that's my Aussie alias, Svenno.
Yes, nearly everybody has an Aussie nickname. So we're talking about creation in business. Now, in order to have a business, it's like you've really got to have creation. And it's like, how else do you do it? And it's like, so, you know, you need to, what do you need to create in business that you have not been acknowledging, that if you've acknowledged it, could create the business that you know you deserve? And everything at that is time to Godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So we just recently went to a 7-day event with Access Consciousness in India, up in Jaipur, stayed at this lovely palace. And one of the things I love about the 7-day events that, you know, we do with Access is it's basically you need to have done a level 2 and 3 to go. It's like it's invite only. You need to have done it in the past year. So there's people from all over the world coming to one place, but the thing I love about it is they're all asking for something more. And so you've got this whole room filled of people. Like we have the whole entire place booked out. Like the next one we have is in New Zealand at the Chateau. It's in the North Island and it's surrounded by nothing but beautiful mountains and trees, and there'll probably be snow there too. And then we have one in Costa Rica, and there's a lot of information that usually comes out. And it's like, I mean, Access Consciousness is a creation. And it's like, I love the way that Gary Douglas is in business. It's like there's nothing that's like, you know, solid. I mean, I remember years ago he told me the story about the guys who promoted Tony Robbins, and they wanted to promote Access. And so they sat down for their first initial meeting and said, okay, so, you know, the first thing is your material can't change for 5 years, so that we can, you know, we have something to work with. And Gary said, well, this is not going to work then, because Access changes every second. And it does change every second. It's like it depends who shows up, because every single person has something else to offer. It's like, you know, Access is about creating more consciousness in the world, and it's like you all have something different to offer. Now, what if you treated your business like that too? What if you didn't have the structures in your business and you had more of the systems in place, and you were willing for your business to change every 10 seconds? Now, that may seem insane, because you're like, you know, but I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But it's like, you know what, one of the tools of Access Consciousness is 10-second increments. It's like if you function in 10-second increments, you can make a choice, you can change it. I mean, you're allowed to make a choice and you're allowed to change it. And it's like, what if your business was like that? What if you looked at it like that? What if every day was a completely different creation? Because the second you go to conclusion, you've limited what can show up.
I know, and this whole 10 seconds thing, it's so important too, because that is actually the energy that you're willing to be in the question and change whatever is required when it's required. So also, that doesn't mean that you necessarily need to change everything every 10 seconds. It's like Coca-Cola doesn't change their recipe on their drink every 10 seconds. But the day if that day comes when it needs to be changed because it doesn't work on the market anymore, if they are not willing to be in the 10 seconds choice in that moment, they will basically not work anymore. It will basically not work anymore. Nobody will buy it anymore.
No, you've got to be aware of when the change is there. Like you were saying before, like, is now the time? I mean, I've got some friends in New Zealand that they owned 3 video shops and had a hugely successful family business in prime time areas. I mean, at least they were smart enough to buy some of the property that the video shops were in. So they actually own the video shops, But right now, they're currently closing down those businesses, the video shops. And I was talking to her the other day, and she said, the only people we get in is people who want really, really, really old movies that you can't find on, your Apple TV or iTunes or wherever you're going to. Or she said people who are much older that haven't, grasped the digital, era. But interesting choice to keep those businesses going rather than what would it have looked like if years ago when they'd noticed it, they could have created something different. I mean, Kodak is the same. It's like, Kodak had that place of like, they thought they would always be around forever.
I know. And we had this brilliant company, Fawcett. They were doing typewriters. They sort of missed the whole computer.
Wow.
They were like super big, like they were totally dominating the whole market, but they totally missed that, the computer is not a thing. It's actually a real thing.
Yeah, it's something that's going to expand and grow. God, I'm sure that my son doesn't even know what a typewriter is.
No,
I had to learn to type on a typewriter. And computers were around, like I'm not that old, but they taught you at school when I went to, I learned to be I was a fully qualified travel consultant when I left school. I don't know why, but it gave me some tools. But they learned you had to learn how to type on a typewriter so that, I don't know why, I guess they think that the keys, you sort of got to know them better or something like that. So, but they were not very much fun to work on. So the typewriting business didn't really perceive the future. And it's like, so are you willing to perceive the future of what is happening in your industry, in your business? And what if you were the innovator of what could happen in your industry and your business?
Yeah.
It's like, what would that look like? I mean, some of the fabulous stories, like Richard Branson is one of my favorite people, in business. And it's like, he just continuously, like he had a dream as a kid that he wanted to go to the moon. And it's like, now he owns Virgin Galactic. And it's like, that's going to happen. So it's like he actually, dreams up something and then starts to put it into fruition, even if it's years and years later. He doesn't destroy the creative ideas that he has. Sorry, Jonas, what were you going to say before?
It's fine. Sorry, but I think he's such a great example too, because except like being willing to know when it's the time and being in that question constantly, and also like willing to go for the possibilities. Also, this part that you just brought up, like the demand and the willingness to do whatever it takes, to go wherever it takes, and ask for what possibilities is available that would actually make that possible. And so I read this story about him once. He was going to go on a flight to go home, and it was a very late flight, and then it got canceled. So instead of just sitting there waiting, he's actually went and asked, so what would the cost be for renting a private plane so I could fly home? So he did, and he got a price. And then he went to everybody that was going to be on the flight home that was canceled and asked if anybody was interested in buying in. So in the end, he got a lot of people that wanted to fly with him, and it didn't get expensive for anyone, and they flew home on the plane he rented. But look at who's the leader here and who's actually willing to go and create the possibilities that will show up. And now, a couple of years later or 10 years later, he would probably have taken that private jet himself. He probably already has one, so he doesn't end up in that problem. But his willingness to figure that energy out, that's the way that he follows the energy and the possibilities and creates a different possibilities for him and for everyone. I think it's cool.
I do too. I was watching this show the other day. It's a TV series called Castle. And the guy, the main actor, he said something about he has this dream. And someone comments about it's just a dream. And he goes, have you looked at my life? And he goes, all my dreams come true. It's like, so what if you were able to create all of those, those dreams that you have and have them come true? Because one of the things we look at in Access is, and we'll go more into it in the next segment, but it's you need a creator, connector, and a mover for a business. Now, what we're really covering here is the creation in business. What is creation in business? And so one of those main aspects that you need in business is the creator. Now, I so often see, because creators are the people who are the dreamers. They are the visionaries. You know, they're the ones that do that thing of just going, oh, I've got this idea and then this and this and this and this. And it's like there's so many times, either by their parents or the school or colleagues or whatever it is, they get cut down rather than acknowledged, and rather ask questions about like, okay, so what would that look like, or how could you put that into fruition? Because a lot of the times they might not have the capacity to put into fruition, but that's when you actually have more people to show up that add to your business. So it's not just about you. And it's like, you know, most creators are the people who have a million ideas. And it's like, how many times have you gone to the wrongness of you for having a million ideas because they haven't shown up, rather than being grateful for the million ideas you have? I mean, I remember years ago I had a business called Good Vibes for You, and someone said to me, you know, I was coming out with designs left, right, and center, and they said, are you copywriting it? And I was like, no. And for me, my target was to change the world and change the way people looked at the world. So for me, with that, with Good Vibes for You, I looked at it and I went, oh, so if people are copying me, it's like, then it's working. Then that message or those designs I have, which was all designs of things like, you know, the Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see in the world, and, do something outside your comfort zone and things like that. So something that I perceive would empower people to create a difference in the world. But I looked at it as, I've got so much to create. It's like, if I spend time, and I'm not saying don't copyright, but it's like something like that. Funny. Why?
It's so funny. I have so much to create. I don't have time to put energy and time into copyright.
No, it was like, it totally matched the energy. If people were going to copy me, then I was like, great, it's getting out there. That's actually my plan. Because you know what? Money wasn't the primary source for me creating that. It was to change the planet. So it sort of matched the energy. I love that you're laughing at me.
No. I have way too much to create. I don't have time for that.
So that's what creation in business can look like, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to head off to a break, and we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about that creator, connector, mover, so that you can actually have those creations show up in your business.
Hi, I'm Katrina Kavanagh, host of the I Am Wisdom radio show. I Am Wisdom is about the connection between mind work and energy work, spirituality, and living a wonderful life. Looking forward to sharing each Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with you.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
The Laying On of Hands Healing radio show is about treating the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. Join me, Charles Smith, as I share life-balancing measures such as nutrition and spiritual practices to help you take charge of your own health and wellness every Thursday at 7 p.m. on OMTimes Radio.
What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business, and share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business.
Radio Namaste leads you down the yellow brick road into portals of consciousness with the blue collar goddess as your host. Interviews with humans who could be famous or just popular, and answers to everything are on the agenda. Tune into OMTimes Radio and drop in on Thursdays at 3 Eastern. It's a different brand of enlightenment.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to What is Creation in Business? And you're with Simone Milasas and Jonas Svensson, or Svenno is his Aussie nickname we discovered. So what we were talking about before the break was the pieces that you actually need in your business to create it. Now, we're talking about what is creation in business. And it's like you need all these aspects. And I mean need from the place of the requirement of all of these pieces to actually have the fluidity that you desire in business, okay? So you've got the creator, which we went through. And it's like the creator is, like we were saying, you know, that sort of person that has a million different ideas and, you know, is always looking for, you know, what's possible. And it's like, then you've got the connector. Now, the connector, you all know connectors. The connectors are the people who will talk to about anybody. Like you'll be standing in a supermarket and someone starts chatting to you. They're usually a connector. And it's like, you know, sometimes hairdressers are great connectors. And it's like there's different, you know, and sometimes connectors can be a little bit annoying because they don't stop talking. But they're really valuable to your business. So a connector is usually a great salesperson as well. So you need a connector. I mean, I see some people create fabulous things, and it's like, but then they don't have a connector. You don't have a connector, how are you going to sell it? You know, it's like you've got to look at all of these pieces.
I just love that explanation you gave about it, because if they have a great ideas, but they don't have the connector energy in it, it actually, you don't give yourself the chance for it to actually connect with this reality or the buyer. Like it actually does not create a connection between the idea and getting actualized in this reality.
Like, well, I used to do business in India, Jonas, years and years ago, and I used to import from there. And I started off doing, you know, I'd go to India and I'd go to Nepal and I'd go to Thailand, and I started off buying goods that I could sell at the markets in Sydney when I lived there. And, you know, I had fun doing it, and I'd come home, I'd go there 3 or 4 times a year, and I'd work the markets on the weekend. I was making anywhere from like $4,000 to $10,000 a week at one stage. And then people started asking me about, you know, if they could buy the goods, and I was like, maybe I could wholesale. So then I got into the wholesale business. So that was sort of like the creation of how I started, you know, one of my businesses. But the thing that I noticed when I was overseas, and I'd meet people, you know, in India or whatever, and they'd be like, oh my God, what you do is fabulous. This is so much fun. All you do is you get to shop. You know, I think I'm going to do this, and I'm going to buy bedspreads, and I'm going to take them home, and I'm going to sell them. And I always used to talk to them and say, okay, you need to look at this the whole way through, because it's like, okay, you can come here and you can buy bedspreads, you can buy toe rings, you can do whatever you want, but how are you going to sell it?
Yeah.
And it's like, so they never really looked at that connector part. I just happened to be doing all of it at that stage. So I was doing the connecting as well. And it's like I see so many people that have, like I said, these amazing creative ideas, yet they don't do anything with it. So ask, okay, so instead of going to the wrongness of your business or your idea, your project, ask a question. Say, okay, so what do I need to add to my business? Do I need a connector?
Yeah.
And it's like, or do I need a mover? Do you want to talk about what a mover is, Jonas?
Yeah, so a mover is, thanks for asking me, and that is probably the thing that I cannot ever stop doing. Can't sleep without doing it. I can't take a shower without doing it. So, but it's for being.
Oh, you just took us into the shower with you.
I know. Enjoy. So a mover is really this energy of being aware of what will be required, and sort of when too, and what will be required in the future, and being aware of the future, and have the willingness to also put in place the things that needs to get in place for that to actually work with what will go on in the future. And I still remember, because I was working on this big corporate food company with marketing, and one of the things that I did there during my 7 years was I was responsible for all our market research on a European basis, suddenly, from out of the blue. Okay, sure, I can do that. And one thing I recognized was this capacity I had to put all this information from all different sources. It was hard facts, soft facts, and just my knowing about things, and put them together and actually being aware of what will show up in the future and in a year from now or something. And here's the thing, and how I actually recognize my capacities, because nobody else understood what I saw. Because it was an awareness that was sort of giving me the whole picture. So I could never prove to them what was going to happen in a PowerPoint presentation or in an Excel file, which was the only thing that they would be willing to make decisions on. So I had a hard time struggling with that. And these days I know so much better, and I actually work with people that actually trust their knowings and also have the capacity to see that what will come and what will go on and what will change, and keep on being in the question about that. So that actually allows you to be that source of moving things in a way so it will work, or it will change in a way so it will start working. And I love your story about India, Simone, because so now, you know, guys, we have talked about creators, we have talked about connectors, we have talked about movers. And some people have all these three very natural, or they can at least do them all very easy. And Simone is one of these. We call that a foundational person.
I think you might be one of them too, Jonas.
I know I might be one of those. But Simone is fabulous. And I just want everybody that is listening to actually recognize that was the reason why it worked for her to do all of that herself. It doesn't mean that she has to do all of that herself. And these days she's smarter, so now she's actually including more people in her universe too, to actually be able to create even more, so she doesn't have to do everything herself anymore. But I just want everybody to recognize that was the reason why that was easy for Simone to do. And if you're not a foundational person in the way that Simone is, that's not a problem. That's the point. You can actually add people so you get that whole capacity, so you can utilize your capacity even better.
Yeah, and one of the things that you mentioned, Jonas, which I want to pick up on, because I've noticed that this has happened recently, is with the mover, is you were saying that nobody noticed, okay, or that nobody got it. And it's like quite often that will happen, and it's like that is such a really important thing to have a look at, because it is not about going to the wrongness of you. I mean, we work in a very large company with Access Consciousness, and it's like there are some people who see the bigger picture and a lot who don't, and it's like it's not a wrongness of them that don't see the bigger picture, and some talk about the bigger picture, yet if you look at it energetically, are they actually willing to be it or receive it? Now, it's not wrong, it's just so you don't send yourself going crazy, going, oh gosh, I think this person gets it and they don't get it. It's like, no, then it's like keep moving forward. A mover will always keep moving forward. It's like they'll always know like when something is missing or something's needed and to be added, and how it can effectively all work together, whether there is the acknowledgement from someone or something else, okay? So no matter what, you've got to keep moving forward. It's like most connectors think they have, you know, that there's no value to connecting, because they just go, oh, no, I just do it all the time. Oh, I just rang Sandy and I rang Bob and I rang this person. I just told them about this, and, you know, and then there's a whole lot of sales that show up, or a whole lot of people who show up to a class that you might be having or something like that. And it's like they don't get it. And it's like you're listening to us talk about connector, creator, mover, foundational. And it's like usually the one that you resist is what you're great at. The one that you've decided you have a judgment about. And also the one that you think has no value is usually what you're great at. So this is not about, you know, the rightness or the wrongness. Like Jonas said, it's like having a look, because this is creating in business. This is creation in business. It's like you require the connector, creator, the mover, and you may be a foundational person, which, as Jonas was saying, they make a great coordinator. They sort of have that helicopter aerial view, and from that aerial view, then they have a really great ability to be able to perceive who requires something, when they require it. It's like, or what different projects require something, and be able to sort of insert themselves in that area and allow people just to keep moving forward.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, when something doesn't work or it gets stuck, a mover is a really good person to turn on and ask questions to, because they more or less always have some sort of awareness of some sort of step you can take that will actually create a different possibility. in the next step. It doesn't make sense most of the times, but just by moving something, which a mover is a lot of times very good at knowing what that might be, not because they have proof of it, but just because they know. You just start moving that, and then suddenly a whole different universe shows up where there's actually different possibilities. And I must say that Simone is one of the people on the planet that I have most fun of doing this with, because so many times it happens. Things get stuck, or it just doesn't work at the moment. And then we just have a conversation and we just change something, and then we don't necessarily know what to change, and it's not necessarily the solution, the final solution that we're changing to, but we're making a change that is creating a different possibility in the next step. And I love that. So thank you for that, Simone.
You're welcome. And you know what, we're almost ready to go for another break, but one of the, within that, one of my favorite things that Dane here once said at an Access Consciousness Facilitators class, he said, when you get that, like that hairball in the back of the throat where you're like, you know, and it doesn't feel good, the next move you're about to make, then stop. It's like, stop. When you get that moment and you're just like, and it's like, is it actually creating something for your business that is going to create something more or less? It's like, just stop and ask a question. Heck, even if you're in a meeting or something like that, just say you have to go to the toilet. Go to the toilet and sit in the toilet and go, okay, what is going to create a greater possibility here? Because you know, and that's one thing that you mentioned too, Jonas, is knowing. And it's like, you know what's going to create something greater. And it probably is not what everybody else is saying. It's not about aligning and agreeing with someone or resisting and reacting. It's about going with your knowing. So it's about empowering you to know that you know, and it's like, what is going to create, you know, what's going to create the greatest possibilities for you in business? So we're heading off to a break, and we'll talk to you soon.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. Join Elliot Jolish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jolish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jolish Hour. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake. Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Joy of Business. You're with Simone Milasas in Peregian Beach, Australia, and Jonas Svensson who's from Sweden, but he's currently in Canada at the moment. Nice cold countries at the moment. I'm packing up to head to Europe, and I keep looking at my iPhone, and it says -1 Celsius and stuff, and I'm like, wow, it's like 30 degrees Celsius here at the moment. It's hot. So we've been talking about creation in business and what is creation in business. So one of the things that we wanted to cover next, and I'd love you to share some of your top secrets here, Jonas, is how do you work with people when it comes to creation?
Yeah, I mean, so all this information that we have spread around ourselves during this last 45 minutes, it's really giving you the picture of all the different elements and energies that is required in a business. And so with all these things, there also comes people. So to get all these things involved in your business, you obviously will work with people. And I would say that the absolute most important thing when you do work and create with people, which will take you way further, is to become aware and acknowledge what are you good at, what are you contributing, and what are they good at, and what are they contributing with. So if you are working with a connector, for example, if you're willing to acknowledge that and actually use that person, and I'm not talking about using in an abusing way, but use that person's strengths and capacities in a way that they can contribute, that would actually expand everything. And they will also actually do what's fun for them. But I see so many people are trying to get people to do what they want them to do, which is really not working that well. I know I've tried it too, so I'm getting disgusted just by saying it.
No, I know. Look, I had a conversation a couple of days ago with someone about this too. It's like, it's if you're one of those people that if something's not showing up the way you would like it to look like, and it's like, you've got to be willing to change that point of view. And it's like, you have to, what if you're willing to let people loose? I mean, Gary Douglas is, honestly, I know I keep raving about it, but he is one of the best people I've ever seen in business, the way he does things. And it's like he has no form and structure. There's no rules and regulations. There's no structure. It's more of a system. And one of the things he'll say, I mean, he said to me the other day, this certain person we work with, he said, we have to let this person loose to actually see if they will create. Because if you try and maintain where they are or maintain the ideas or direct the ideas in a certain way, are you actually allowing the person to be incredibly creative, or are you controlling it?
Yeah. So it's sometimes, and I mean, I concur on everything she said about Gary, because he has really shown, I guess, both of us and all of us, at least the ones that have been interested in becoming aware of it, how he's not even necessarily asking people to do what they're best at. He's actually just allowing them to do what they're best at. And then instead of trying to change people to do it in a way that would work for him, he's actually allowing them to do whatever they're best at and whatever is fun for them. And then he still adds other people that will cover up the areas that that person will not necessarily do. It's just an amazing, I've never seen anything like it, a willingness and allowance and capacity to see that and just be willing to let people do what they want to do and still get the puzzle to go together. It's amazing.
Well, and I've got a great example too. It's like, I mean, Access was, expanding and it was growing at a super rate. And then there's a whole lot of classes you can do in Access. The first one is the bars class. And then you've got Foundational Level 1, which is taught by a bunch of facilitators all around the world. And then you've got Level 2 and 3, taught by Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here. Now, the bars class, what Gary did, it was quite a few years ago now, he opened it up to other people facilitating the bars class. And the idea was that all you had to do was do 3 bars classes with 3 different facilitators and, send in your application. It's like pay a small fee and you could go and facilitate bars. Now, we have over 2,000 bars facilitators around the world in over 130 countries. So what did that do? It let it loose. It let the creation loose. Now, is every one of those bars facilitators a perfect, great, fantastic, representative of Access Consciousness bars facilitator? No. You know what? They create an energy in the business. They create an awareness that bars exist, which bars, if I haven't actually spoken about it, and please, if you're listening to these shows and any of the processing and stuff like that too, see if you can go get your bars run. You can go to, I think it's bars.accessconsciousness.com and find a bars facilitator in your local area. It's like touching 32 different points on your head, which starts to, eliminate and eradicate all those thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you have on judgments and separations and projections around many different areas like money, sadness and joy, form and structure, healing, hopes and dreams. There's a whole lot of things. And it's a fabulous process to be done. But what he did by letting that loose was he expanded access at a huge, super rate that it just grew so fast. I think we quadrupled within a year of him doing that. Now, a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, you can't do that because, people, they might not know everything about access and then they're out there doing these classes, etc. But he knew that it matched the energy of what would create more awareness of consciousness in the world. And that's the awareness that Gary has. That's his target. Yeah. So it's like, where are you not willing to let your business loose, that if you let it loose, would actually create something far greater than your logical mind could ever work out. And everything at that is where you destroy and uncreate it. Yeah. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What if it was time to let you loose? What possibilities could show up? What could you create? What creation could you have in your business? And business is creation. Creation is business. Okay? That's the way I've always looked at it.
And it is. And also, the whole part of, with that example, when Gary made the choice to let it free for everybody that actually desired, he was just willing to lose the structure that he had in place. And suddenly, it just expanded. So it's not about, losing you or losing the game or losing money. That's not what losing is. So actually, everything we have decided losing is, can we destroy and create that?
Yes.
Right, good about put and poke all nine shorts, boys and meals. But what if it's just about losing your old patterns or something that is stopping you? But if you're not willing to lose, you will never go there. Huh.
So what invention are you using to create the need of never letting go and always getting it right? You are choosing. And everything at that is where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So let me see if I remember what I said. What invention, because an invention is something that it's like you invent it. It's not real, okay? So what invention are you using to create the need of, what did I say, never letting go and always getting it right?
And always getting it right, yes.
And everything at that is where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So what if you let go and you didn't have to get it right? That's basically what this process is about, okay? So what invention are you using to create the need? So you have this need, this desperate need of never to let go and always getting it right. You are choosing. So if you put this, you put these processes on a loop and listen to them, it'll start to change the points of view and the judgments or limitations that you've created around any area of your life. But this one just happens to be about business. So everything at that is times of Godzilla when you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
And I would say this willingness to lose and not be right. And I mean, I would bring up probably Richard Branson again, because even if he has 22,000 super successful companies by this time, he probably could, if we would ask him, show us another 21,000 failures as well. It's sort of what we would define as failures, but from his perspective, it would just be things that he went on adventures and he found awareness about things, and that helped him to create other things, and now he's where he is with those things. So what if it's never a failure? What if it's just something that will gain more awareness for the future?
Yeah, and what else do you need to add? What else do you need to create? I mean, I know that he looks at business and companies too as when he gets to about 100 people in the company, he starts a new company. And it's like, so it's a new stream, it's a new possibility. And it's like, you have to look at that as, I mean, we met with our accountant the other day, and it's like, we've got another company and another trust opening up, so that how they can all assist with each other and all the different revenue streams we have. and if they're investments or, you know, if they're earning money in certain ways, and it's like how they all work together. So what if you allowed yourself to have more than one business and you allowed all those businesses to assist in the creation together, in the contribution? So everything of that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So I had someone send this question in as saying many people create business from a need of money. And it's like, how do you see that they can be motivated to create other than the need of money in this last minute and a half that we have?
So if you do create business from the need of money, maybe you need to start looking at that need of money part, like seriously. It's not a joke, but if you do walk around with thinking that you need money and that's why you need to have a business or a job. I remember I was in a class, it was like 5-6 years ago with Dane, and we were talking about money and needing money, and it's just said, Dane, I don't get it. Like, of course I do need money. How can I buy food otherwise? And he just pointed at me. That's the point of view that is stopping you.
Hey, Jonas,
yeah.
We're almost at the end of the show here, but I'd like to invite you on to actually do a show with me on money, on the need of money, the need versus desire of money. How about that? That sounds like fun.
That sounds really fun.
All right, awesome. So thank you so much, Jonas, for joining me today. People can find you too on the Access Consciousness website. If you look up Jonas Svensson, you'll find him. And also on Facebook, Jonas Svensson, and you'll be able to actually find him on Joy Business Facebook page too. So thanks for being here.
Thank you too.
Bye.
Bye.